to throw this on and forget about it for now, but if either of us notices that that light turn off, I'll just have to be an old-fashioned reporter here.
Sure. What is Three County News?
So, for the past year before this, it was known as the Sheridan Dally, D-A-L-L-Y. It's a website.
Sure.
A couple years back, there was something that started up in Lander called Pitch Engine. And so they're this company that sets up hyper-local news streams all around rural areas.
Okay.
The idea being that it's, sort of like a Facebook timeline where you have stories being served to you, but it's more community, it's hyper-local, and people can really easily submit pictures and tips and get them put up there pretty quickly.
Good idea.
And then, over about a year, as they developed each one individually in Jackson, theirs is called the Buck Rail, County 10, Sweetwater, Oil City is down in Casper,
Sure.
County 17 is over in Gillette. They franchised them out. They kind of sold them off to individual local business guys and stuff like that who were interested in running a news source. So ours got bought up by Mark Christensen, a county commissioner over in Campbell County.
Okay.
He owns County 17 and the Sheridan Dally, and just never liked that name. And so we finally just rebranded it as County 3 News. We're also putting out a magazine called 82801 that's just a freebie in lobby. And it's actually just on the reverse side of 82717, which they've had a lot more time. They have like 4 reporters and a graphic designer and marketing staff over there. We're just, it's been me for a year. And now I have a coworker that just showed up. They're trying to get an office set up in the mill ends.
Hey, very nice.
So we're trying to become more legitimate. A lot of people look at a website news service and think it's not as serious because it's not a newspaper. But County 17 over in Gillette has definitely proven that wrong. They've kind of overtaken the Gillette News record and have really high quality reporting. So he's asking a lot of us over here. He's like, I want you to be just like County 17. I'm like, oh, yeah. There's twice as many of you over there. But so that's a part of this. Like, I'm trying to find angles that other news agencies aren't.
Sure.
And there's nothing wrong with the Sheridan Press necessarily or Sheridan Media, but they're just the standard and have always been here, and that people just know, just have a relationship with them, and we're trying to define ours a little differently.
Sure.
It's media, it's multimedia, so we try and use all those angles.
Right.
So
I sent you your questions.
I saw that, and I haven't even got a chance, but I appreciate
That's all right.
I appreciate that they came back. I would have, if this was a more official meeting, I would have reviewed it and written some questions based on your responses.
Well, let me see if I can help you out on that.
But more than anything, I do just want to kind of be a stand-in for the voter. So, hey, Carl seems like a nice guy.
It seems that way.
But I honestly, out of the people I've talked to so far, you're the guy I know absolutely nothing about.
Okay.
So I guess,
I'll answer your questions, and you can peruse that somewhat,
Sure.
and that'll help you, come up with some questions. And
So let's see, law enforcement is the majority of your
career, 36 years.
Okay. All right. That's cool. So a lot of people, not a lot of people, but in general in public service and so on, people will often talk about military background.
Sure.
And I assume there's some similarities into how you would translate those skills from law enforcement to public service.
There's a tremendous amount of similarity between law enforcement and military. Let's go back. The last 14 years of my career, 3 years was spent as a lieutenant, where I ran a division, had about 10 guys under me, and we worked really in Converse County because I was stationed in Douglas.
Okay.
When I got promoted to captain, which you become a district commander, I had 5 counties, 3 divisions of troopers, and I had 3 port of entries. So I had about 6 direct reports under me, and then about 50 indirect report, secondary employees.
Okay.
So as captain, then you deal with, you get to write some policy, you get to implement policy, you get to implement procedures.
Okay.
You work with some budgeting, you do lots of background investigations, lots of work with safety and training to do, backgrounds on potential employees. You do investigations, criminal investigations. You do work with your employees to put them in the best position to succeed. Plus, then you do all the criminal work that a regular trooper does too.
Sure. So that what you say though was Converse?
3 years I was in Converse as
Okay.
lieutenant, but captain and
I see.
district commander I was here in Sheridan.
I see.
See, I started out in Wamsutter in 1982. You know where Wamsutter is?
Yeah.
There you go. I was 6 years there as a trooper, transferred to Sheridan in '88, and stayed a trooper. Passed up several opportunities to promote because I had promised my family that if things were going well, kids were doing good in school, wife was happy with her job, everything was good, I'm not going to promote and ruin a good thing. Well, we had a great thing going on, so I passed up promotions until the kids were out of school. Took a promotion in 2002 to Douglas.
Okay.
Was lieutenant there for 3 years. Got promoted very luckily to get to come back to the Sheridan.
So it's just a little leapfrog
Yeah,
sort of.
yeah, just a 3-year stint away and got to come back.
Well, good for you for doing
Yeah,
that for
it
your
was
kids.
awesome. Yeah.
You know, all those years. I understand that. I have various. I used to be a wildfire fighter.
Sure.
My wife forbid me to do that at a certain point. I have a degree in archaeology. That was cool, but then I was traveling a lot. I actually started a drone business that does real estate videography. I found a balance with that to where I have local clients
Sure.
and I can stay here, but I could have traveled around the world
Oh, absolutely.
with that. So I understand doing that, limiting your ambition for your family.
Yeah, no, and I can't complain. It worked out well. I mean, it might have put me in other positions to move up higher quicker, but it didn't hurt me at all. And because of the success of my kids, it was absolutely the right decision.
So, how did that? So you're retired?
Yes.
Yeah. And then how did this idea come up, the county commissioner?
You know, way before I retired, obviously looking to stay in public service in some way, some capacity, doing something for mainly the Sheridan community, because I felt the Sheridan community gave me a lot, right? I was approached several times by different entities. Maybe I should run for sheriff. I did not necessarily embrace that, although it was a good idea, and I did throw my hat in the ring for sheriff when Dave Hoffmeyer retired.
Okay.
Because one, staying in law enforcement would have been my preference.
Okay.
But two, I knew the sheriff's office was running well. I knew that the current sheriff, Alan Thompson, good guy, got it together. Everything was good. If there was no internal politics that I didn't know about, I knew Alan was the hands-on guy to get the position, which he did, and deservedly so. He's a good guy. I got no issues with him at all. Good guy. But still wanted to be in public service. Well, also at the same time, actually on the day I was retiring, several people approached me and said, "You got to run for county commissioner. You got to get back." So I said, "Oh, that's a good idea." But the two incumbents at the time their terms were up, they were running again. I didn't want to necessarily run against incumbents. So now here I am. It's an opportunity. Obviously, a lot of other people are taking the same opportunity to run this year, which is fine. That's a great idea. And here's what you're getting. You're getting 10 or 11 candidates who are in it for primarily the same reason.
Yeah.
And so the county is going to end up with predominantly a good commission again, which hopefully will make all the right decisions.
Yeah.
Maybe not all the popular ones, but certainly, hopefully, right decisions for the county and for the budgets.
Yeah. Because it's a team job, right?
Oh,
Also.
absolutely. You know, here's the thing about the county commission. You have a chairman, like Mike Nickel is, but you don't have, let's call him a president or a king or somebody else who
Mayor
is,
even,
who is his word rules. It's 5 people making decisions. We all vote, our own separate ways. We have to be independent thinkers.
Yeah.
Have to study the facts and the issues ourselves, and use all the information that the other entities bring to you. You know, like the Planning and Zoning Commission,
Yes.
all the other people.
Now, and so that I wanted to ask about that. I mean, what would you see kind of the proper relationship with the Planning and Zoning Commission and the county commissioners?
Well, certainly they're there to do yeoman's work as far as knowing zoning, knowing the county's comprehensive plan front and back, how to put that into the best work and what works when people come to them with ideas that they want to rezone or they want to build this or build that. Does it fit within the comprehensive plan? Yes, it does, or no, it doesn't. Okay, then that has got to be a big part of our decision, that the people who are entrusted to really look at that and say yes or no on it. So what do I look at? What do I think? What do I want to bring to the county? As I make my decision. So I'm going to weigh heavily on their side, that they know what they're doing, because that's what they're there for.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the county's comprehensive plan, like any other thing, has to change with changing times, monies, growth, development, whatever. And so the coalition that built that comprehensive plan in the first place, the large number of entities got together and hammered it out. Something similar will probably need to be done in the very near future to hammer out some tweaks. And it won't have to be a whole lot, because it's really a solid backbone for growth and development within the county. But we could make some changes that might accommodate where we're headed now or where we don't want to head now.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I mention it. It seems like a dry question, but it just seems like there's going to be a lot going on with the Planning and Zoning Commission, I would think, soon.
Well, okay. Projected growth over the next 10 years is we might grow as much as 30%. Well, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
We don't have the infrastructure to handle it.
Yeah.
So we got to keep up with that. We got to end. Where are you going to jam? If you say Sheridan is 18,000 people, where are we going to put another 30% of those people in Sheridan or in the county, and how much land use are we going to use? So, lot size, development size, these areas where we want to cluster homes or cluster businesses need to be developed and defined and redefined, perhaps. So it's a good thing to stay on top of. I don't know if we'll grow that much.
Yeah.
We certainly want to encourage businesses and things to come into town. So, everybody wants to see their kids get a great job or good education, but maybe come back and live close or have a good job. Well, they can't come back without jobs.
Yeah.
And Sheridan's, median wage is about $28,000 a year. Family-wise, if you have both people working, you're making about $55,000 a year, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Not bad wages, living wages certainly, but not where you can afford kind of the median price home in the town. And we definitely have a small inventory of available housing. Good for the realtors, good for the people selling, not so good for buyers.
Yeah, I mean, off the record, I've had people refer to it as a real estate cartel.
And it is what it is. You work with it. There isn't a problem with new couples or young couples are struggling when you start out with a new job in a new place.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all done it. But someplace you want the struggle to have daylight at the end of it.
Yeah.
And be able to really enjoy the county and the city for what we have here.
And just put that last bit of lubrication in to get everything we've been building
There you go.
moving,
Yep.
I see it, I have a great perspective on it right now, because I got an offer that you don't get around here. I had been freelancing, and just one of the irons in the fire turned into an offer from the guy over in Campbell County, who's like, how about I make you a staff writer and I give you $21 an hour and all this. And he actually believes in the economic diversification. He's like, well, you can't have a journalism sector if you're not hiring quality people, and you can't have quality people if you don't pay them
There you go.
what they're worth.
Yeah.
You can't just say, oh, well, I can't pay that. This is Wyoming. Nobody's, you just can't. You got to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So he did that for me. Then he found a journalism student right out of the University of Alabama and moved him here.
Sure.
So right away, he's doing that. He's bringing
Yep.
in a young professional to Wyoming and making it attractive. that guy couldn't find a place to live. He slept on my couch for 2 weeks
Yep.
before he could rent a little, studio somewhere. But he had to be here to even find that. From afar, he couldn't just, so that's, I see it happening, but it still needs that lubrication, like I said, to where the floods could come if they wanted to, where they'd go, you know what, it's easy to move to Sheridan. I got a place I can move to without a huge credit history in the area, and it's cheap.
And true enough, you want growth. You don't want
Floods,
you don't want disorganized, random, and
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. Right now, like I say, it's organized. Yeah, we could use. Some people say there's a big difference, and there's a distinct difference between affordable housing and workforce housing.
Okay.
Okay. There can be that difference, but there's also that overlap.
Yeah,
There's a lot
that's
of
hazy
people
to
in
me.
town who would join the workforce if there were some jobs for them. Husbands, wives who are kind of staying at home or working part-time where they'd like to be full-time at something else, but there's not the, let's call it the business, the industry, the commercial enterprise that they can get into because we don't have that here. The other thing is some places do bring in a workforce. They might get 30, 40 kids from out of state, out of country to come in and supplement, provide them housing while they work in their business. Okay, that's a workforce, and the other one is the workforce that's already sitting here waiting
Sure.
for jobs to come in.
Okay.
So you got those two things that overlap. I'd certainly, I will encourage and I will help facilitate within the county's comprehensive plan as much as we can work. Development of more housing, which more housing becomes more affordable as your inventory grows. Help those guys that want to come in and put in those subdivisions on smaller lot sizes, single-family dwellings or multi-family dwellings within the comprehensive plan, and where our infrastructure can handle it. Water, sewer, transportation, and the fire districts.
Yeah.
Big things.
Sure, and sometimes, my colleague is doing a story right now about a poorly planned subdivision. Sometimes in our past we've been too eager to just say, I don't want to be the one to hold up progress, and they just sign off on something and they build it on a swamp. They don't have a wide enough driveway to let a fire engine in.
Yeah.
These issues have come up.
Yeah. And there are things to look at, and people. It's okay to make a mistake when your intentions in the first place were completely right and above board and transparent, and things didn't work out.
Sure.
It's the other thing to make a mistake, more or less intentionally, when you're just not gonna let it. You're just gonna let it go.
Yeah. Yep. So, you sent me your question, so I'll have a sense of your answer to
Sure.
that. The thing that's hard in Wyoming, and I just kind of tried this out on Jay for the first time. People want to stick to the facts. They want to stick to the budget because it can be so dangerous in Wyoming to start talking about any kind of social issues, because nationally we're so polarized in terms of, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat, or God, I don't even know what I am as a Republican, seems to be the question for a lot of people. And it doesn't. It polarizes instantly. So I don't want to ask you any specific, corner you on anything, but Sheridan faces being a bubble almost of an isolated western town that's always been this way, but also facing change and people coming in with strange ideas. And so we don't like to think, Jackson, that's not Wyoming, but we'd hate to see Sheridan become the second one. I think a lot of people fear that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they blame it on the liberals and the California people who came here and so on. But like it or not, there's a lot of people who own businesses on downtown Sheridan who came from California, literally.
Yep.
So they're a part of our community and so on. And so,
Well, true enough. What you're asking is, I'm a transplant. I came from South Dakota.
sure.
You look around, probably 50% of the people here are not native.
Mm.
But I came here because economic employment, obviously, and the career path I wanted to follow. Wyoming hired me first. Got offers from other places, but I'm a pretty loyal guy. I obviously to stay 33 and a half years with the same agency. Pretty loyal in this day and age. Yeah, I'm a Republican. I'm pretty conservative. Like a lot of people, it would bother me when someone moves in from, let's say, New York City, and I'm just using this as an example.
New York City.
They come in from New York City because they love everything that we have here. They love it. And the first thing they want to do is change it to what they had in New York City.
Right.
It's not going to happen. I oppose that too. The Western heritage we have here, the small town feel, the open spaces, the conservation of those resources are extremely important to me. I want to keep them moving. But at the same time, businesses want to come here, people want to come here, and we have to have that organized growth. Where do we put them? How do we put them? And can we get the infrastructure in here without ruining what we've got?
Yeah.
And make it the best, affordable, and best place to live in the state of Wyoming.
Yeah.
I get that.
You know, I guess a great example this last year provided our whole community with an interesting kind of conversation piece. One of them being the non-discrimination ordinance, or I guess it was just a resolution that they wanted to pass. And then also the incidents down at the college with Native Americans having, racial hate speech. Happened in a similar time frame and caused various things to happen. It caused a lot of controversy for the city council, that resolution. And it was interesting because at the same time around Wyoming, other municipalities were facing that too. Casper had one, Jackson had one, Gillette had passed one the year before, I think. We actually, as it turns out, are the last holdout on that one. We just can't bring ourselves to include any kind of sexual orientation or anything like that in our...
I have to disagree with you on that. We can very much agree that the diversification of the people that live here is fine and dandy. Here's what happens in a lot of communities. We don't particularly go out and look to say, okay, you're Native, or you're gay, or you're lesbian, or really don't care.
Right.
Keep your yard up, be a good neighbor, work your job, be happy like the rest of us, join the softball teams, be a part of the community, and you're welcome all you want to be. I personally don't know anybody who goes out of their way to discriminate, push back, tell them to go away, and don't want them here. Most people just, it's not an issue for them unless somebody else brings it up to issue and makes a big deal of it.
Which is why I think then the college is an interesting thing to look at next, because you have something where it was spurred by an incident.
Absolutely.
And then how did they react? They brought in the Department of Justice,
and that's fine. You can say, well, that was overreaction. Well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
Right.
But they did the right thing. Here's what they wanted to do. They wanted to make sure the issues got brought out. They didn't want to sweep anything under the rug. Let's put it out here in front. Here's what we're doing as a college. Here's what we're doing as a community.
Yeah.
Here's what we want to include as a state. So they opened it up. Yeah. And if there were to be any black eyes come out of that, well then, okay, let's heal from that. Let's figure out what we're doing wrong and start doing it right.
Yeah.
I really don't think there was anything wrong at all.
Yeah.
Everything was right. You get a knucklehead somewhere that wants to write something nasty about somebody else for whatever reasons. Okay, they're the knuckleheads. Deal with them if you can find them. The rest of it, certainly we don't want anybody discriminated against, pressured, whatever, or bullied. But what do I say? We're not going to go, we'll go out of our way to look for the bully, to try to find them.
Yeah.
But we want to, if you want to come in the community, come on in. The door's open.
Sure. Yeah, and we did pass one.
Yeah, absolutely.
When it said that, that's for sure. I actually did really appreciate the college because they took kind of what a commission would do, a team approach. Let's ask the expert. Let's ask the planning commission what they think about that. Let's ask the Department of Justice, who's dealt with these things before, what they've done.
And the thing about it, I think, you get the big perspective from the part. Okay, what's going on, and you get a bigger perspective. On the other hand, some of those agencies could have tried to make a bigger deal out of it than it was. Certainly for the families, it hurts and it's bad for them. I get that.
Yeah.
But let's look at it for what it was. It was wrong. It was nasty. It was inappropriate.
Yeah.
College took it by the horns and tried to deal with it.
Yeah.
You just can't get in the mind of some knuckleheads and straighten them out. You just can't. That doesn't make it right. It's totally wrong. But I just wish we could clear that up and just have people not do that.
And it's honestly, you guys really are more nuts and bolts. A county commissioner would be less concerned with these things probably than the city council. And so if anything, you guys are going to run across I would think, the questions of the fossil fuel industry and diversifying our economy and maybe some liberal versus conservative views of how you do that.
Well, yes and no. We're concerned with the same thing the city is.
Sure,
because the city's got its city boundaries, city limits, but then the comprehensive plan has an area outside those where we're all trying to work together, where they really overlap and every issue is the same.
Sure.
So the county commission has to deal with the same issues the city does.
Plus some, yeah.
Plus some. And yeah, we're concerned with other issues, but eventually city limits move. And so the nuts and bolts of it, infrastructure, housing, all that stuff has to be taken care of too. Social issues are important too. The council, I don't think this council or commission, would ever bypass or not take the bull by the horns either on any of those social issues. Mm-hmm. But we're going to take a conservative approach. I think they always do.
Sure.
And I think that's fair.
Yeah, and I think if anything, out of any group around here, they'll be the ones that really vote their conscience, and you'll see maybe a split vote.
Oh yeah, you're not going to get 100% vote on anything because, and maybe you shouldn't because you want.
I think that's healthy.
You want a fair, open discussion about issues, whether it be zoning or a social issue or how much do we charge, county residents for the landfill, whatever.
Yeah.
Those type of things. You want a good discussion and a fair, civil discussion.
So do you have any, really pet issues you really care about or things you really want to change or have a brainstorm about that nobody ever thought before?
Yes and no. Predominantly no. I come with no agenda. I mean, I don't have any issue burning on the back burner that I'm just waiting to throw out to the front. That's not what I got on the commission. I want to see the managed pro-growth, but managed well so that we get our affordable housing, we keep our open spaces, as I said in my answers, keep that small town western feel that we're all very proud of. That's part of the reason we came here. I would like to see a little more, and I don't know that we can do it as a commission. I don't know that the county or the state and all that working together can do it, but I know we need to bring more infrastructure, obviously, and that's a big thing with me. I would hate to see water distribution go down in the county. The shared area water system works great and is a big deal, but it's ever expanding as the city ever expands, and that puts pressure on the supplies and things like that. So we need to look at alternative supplies, have those plans ready to go, or start working on those as available. YDOT works hard on improving the roads and infrastructure coming into town, and the city needs to grab onto those, and the county needs to encourage it, along with our county road plans. Our county road system is a great system, over 500 miles, and for the limited manpower that we have and the equipment, they do a great job of really working with the county. You drive the county roads, you really won't have any trouble driving anywhere in the county. They do a great job. And with some help, they could even do better. So, just things that come up.
Yeah, and all of those cover some of the interesting things about our far-flung county and the different little communities Bighorn, it wasn't that long ago they got city water.
Yep.
But they're an unincorporated. So is that a precedent now? Like, is Arvada gonna get city water?
Well, as Arvada, look at Story. Story's is getting a greater population density.
They really are.
Is there at some point when that's going to have to incorporate? If they incorporate, then they got to get sewer, water,
Yeah.
all the other things that go with
But
that.
I know right now they're really struggling with their volunteer fire department.
Yeah, so fire districts are always a big thing. Fire prevention, all of that affects people's cost of living because insurance for your house up there, things like that, without fire protection, very important. So, yeah, you got to look at all of that.
One thing that my godfather, who just showed up after most of my life being gone, pointed out, he's like, man, there's no space between Bighorn and Sheridan anymore. It really filled in between there, hasn't it? And he's right. He's right. That's just a random, brain fart having to do with what we're talking about. I remember the powder horn happening, and we don't want to stop things like that necessarily, but I don't think added to the economy as much as maybe the developers thought it would, and now it's a private club.
Sure.
And it's not the main culprit.
Here's the thing. I don't know what they thought it would add to the economy because I really don't know, but it in and of itself has added to the economy.
Yeah.
Because all of those people had to build houses, okay? They had to hire
Construction,
contractors. All those construction people had jobs.
Yeah.
Then they went downtown and they bought meals. They buy cars.
Yeah.
They're buying natural gas. They're still a part of the economy that, while you don't see it, it's a big part of it. In one of your questions, you asked something about how would we pay for different things like that. And I said, I want to keep the 1% sales tax because it is so vital to keep some of our other things going. I also like the 4% lodging tax.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is it's one of the few taxes that there ever are that can actually grow an economy. And you look at it this way. If Sheridan has X number of motel rooms available and they rent them all out, or they rent most of them, and you get 4%, well, part of that money goes to the tourism board. They target areas, bring in more tourists.
Right.
Those tourists come in and they buy more rooms,
Right.
okay? That bottom line rises. Well, you also get a bottom line for the people who run the gas stations, the restaurants, souvenir salesmen, hunting, fishing, camping equipment.
Sure.
All of that gets a bottom line raise, and sales tax gets a bottom line raise. It might be small, but it keeps rising. And that's how you pay for stuff. Without having to raise taxes. You generate more economy within the Sheridan area.
And it's easy for people to get on board with, because I know some people who do just say, I don't know what dumbass is going to vote to tax themselves with the 1 cent tax.
Sure.
It's just their mentality. It's like, why would I vote to tax myself? So at least with the 4%, they're looking at putting it on somebody else.
Yeah, you say you're putting it on somebody else. Travel to Rapid City, travel to Las Vegas, travel to Denver. You pay 4 to 17% lodging tax.
It only makes sense.
Because that's what they're doing too. Is it grows an economy within their area.
Yeah.
And that's what they want.
Yeah. So that was a very good idea. So, anything else people really should know about you?
No, I've been around. Obviously, I had a lot of professional contacts with a lot of people around the Sheridan community. I also got to work with a lot of other entities that I would normally work with as a commissioner. Obviously, some within the county courthouse, like the treasurer's office and the courts. All those I worked with them for years. The county attorney's office, the sheriff's office. We did all that. But then a lot of other entities around Sheridan that I worked with. Heck, I refereed basketball here, in Sheridan County and around for more than 23 years. So a lot of people saw me refereeing basketball. I got to watch a lot of the kids in the community grow up, become part of the community, expand out, and really if you want to call our kids products of what came out of here. The Sheridan community can be hugely proud of the amount of kids and the product we produce here that go out in other communities that come back, and what they do and what they produce, what great citizens they are to anywhere they go.
Yeah.
So we got it going on here, and I certainly don't want to ruin that as a commissioner. I want to encourage that, help it grow, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah, that seems to be universal no matter how you are. We're pretty proud of our kids here.
Oh yeah, yeah, and we should be.
For a reason. Yeah, they really do go out and do stuff. They're really impressive things. Okay, well, I like to keep these short, so my editing's short if you really